What originally attracted you both to the series?
Well, I loved given the opportunity to play someone as ballsy as Molly and as uncompromising and self-determined and who was so crystal clear about having one ambition in life, which was to get to the moon and to be ideally the first woman to get there. It's rare to have someone who has such a single-minded goal and achieves it. So that was a great opportunity.
I think I've said it before, I'll say it again. I'm a real fan, both as an audience member and as a performer. I love working in period. I find the sort of make believe of it all and the magic of creating the story that much richer when it doesn't feel like my current life. And then, this tremendous character who has this giant secret that's always a really tasty offering as an actor. That together with the span, the writers very generously sort of talked to me through in the early days before coming on the broad span of Ellen's storyline, and there's some really fun, exciting things that I won't talk about because they're still to come for all of your eyeballs.
Awesome. With the show being about an alternate history timeline, what's been the most fascinating for you in terms of the story and the genre itself for both of you?
I'm always struck by the period element of the show because, in a funny way, Molly is such an anachronistic character who is so stuck in her own time period. It always, to me, feels like it doesn't really matter what decade Molly's in. Molly's mindset is still that of someone, a dogged feminist from the late 60s, early 70s. So it's, I as a funny way, in a funny way, as an actor, I sort of glance at the period, and whereas normally playing anyone else, I would probably immerse myself in it and do research and make playlists and read books that were relevant to it. With Molly, I very studiously don't, because it feels to me Molly's listening to her jazz and has been listening to it for 40 years. That's not going to change. Her dress is slightly different, but it's essentially the same uniform she decided for herself when she was 18. So the period thing is interesting for Molly. I feel like she tags it, but not really.
Yeah, and the history element of it, that would be is such a minefield of potential research and education. It's hard with our show because you're not only having to sort of make sure you understand what really happened, but then you're also getting filled in by the writers about what they've either invented or they have kept, or who they've kept alive. So it's a unique time period or approach to telling a show in a story in a period way, in that way.
Absolutely, I love that. What can fans expect from the new season in terms of your characters and the show in general?
Well, Molly has spent the intervening time between seasons 1 and 2 almost exclusively on the moon. I mean, as much as she's been allowed to, she has lived up there. So she has logged more woman hours on the moon than any other astronaut. She is truly in her element up there. Um, and that's about to change in season 2. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think similarly, there's a big shift where Ellen's been predominantly, well, not predominantly, we've known her as an astronaut, and we meet her as a commander of the crew up on Jamestown, but is also about to return to Earth and spend the majority of season 2 Earthbound, taking on new positions in the sort of administrative leadership and trying to steer the program back towards its sort of initial goal of space exploration, rather than the militaristic presence that's coming into NASA.